Thank you very much for this warm welcome. It's really a privilege for me to be here and share with you my personal story. I hope each of you will find something inspiring in there, something in the way that will help you to build your own professional career. Have you ever had doubts about your career? Have you ever thought others are working harder? Or maybe even they are more talented? At the beginning of my career, I had the same doubts. And on top of it, I was supposed to take over a billion-crown family business founded by my father. In 1990, my father founded a small company called EMCO, which later on has developed into a major business. I was the only son, the oldest child, and everybody was looking at me like, hey, one day it's your job to lead this company. As the company grew, so did the pressure. You may know this famous fact that out of the family companies, only 1/3 survive the transition from the first to the second generation. So this was my position, and what I would like to tell you about today are some best practices how to lead your career. I would like to tell you, based on my story, some things I did right, some things I did wrong, so that you can learn from my mistakes and you don't have to repeat them. At the beginning of my career, before joining EMCO, I had two fears. One fear was related to the people in EMCO, how they are going to look at me. Are they going to look at me just as a son of the owner, someone who just got lucky and he doesn't deserve the position because he has no knowledge? There was one fear. The other fear was related to my father. Don't get me wrong, he was the one who is supporting me a lot, but also the one who created the pressure. He's the founder of the company, strong personality, clever guy, to some extent an icon, and suddenly I was there to replace him. So what I realized on the way is that I can't be like him. I had to take my own personality and take it as an advantage. I can't beat him in his strong sides. I have to find my own way. I have to learn about myself and understand what are my strengths. I took many personality tests trying to observe who I am. How about you? Do you know your strengths? Do you know how to take benefit of them? On the other hand, do you know your weaknesses, how to eliminate them? Great way to understand yourself is through education. Being here at the university, trying to explore, discover, understand who you are is a great moment which you can take benefit from. Also, it's a moment to build relationship. I'm sure you study hard, but don't forget to make friends. I'm sure you won't. I met my wife here at the university. I met my best friend, who later on became an important person also in my business life. So after the graduation, I was asking myself, what can I do in order to be ready for my future role in EMCO? How can I gain confidence? Because that was something I was missing. How can I gain experiences? How can I gain knowledge? I decided to start working in another company, and it was not easy for me because my idea was to find a similar company as possible, but I was facing conflict of interest. So several times I was refused because the companies were too close to each other. And then suddenly, when I started to work for a company where I stayed for 7 years, this company, which was great, has changed its ownership 3 times Imagine 3 times the change of ownership during 7 years. You can imagine how beneficial was this insight for me as a future owner of a family business. At the end of this period, a sudden change came. You remember the friend I was talking about, the one which I met here at the VSE. One evening we were sitting with each other, just chatting, and suddenly we got an idea for our own project, which was connecting the 2 passions we had, sport and kids. Based on this idea, we started a program which aim is to make kids fall in love with sport. And today, 25,000 kids participate there every week in 11 countries in Europe, and it's called Gymnathlon. But shortly after that, my father came, and he said this sentence. This sentence I was looking forward to, but I was also afraid of. My son, I need you in our family business. So I joined. First months, or maybe year or 2, were difficult because I could feel that the people in the company are observing me and judging me. I could feel the question marks above their head saying, this is the guy who should lead us for next 20 or 30 years? Really? Also, the company culture was very different. I was coming from a company where all the decisions were done by data, numbers, whereas in our family business at that time, it was more about intuition, experiences, common sense. So it was difficult for me to decide, and other people might saw me as a weak leader. Since then, it's 11 years since I joined MCO, and 6 years since I became the CEO. And we as a company have changed a lot. The company culture has changed a lot. We are now much more open-minded, forward-thinking, people-centric. Since I became the CEO, we managed to double profit and turnover. But most of all, I feel much more confident. I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy going every morning to work. And that's because I feel trust of the people. They trust me and I trust them. We just got connected. And that's the emotion which I was missing at the beginning of my career. And also, I feel trust of my father. This relationship between first and second generation is very often kind of complicated, but I admire my father that he was able to step back, and now he comes to our company once or twice a year, once or twice a week. He's drinking his coffee, talking with his friends, reading his newspapers, and I don't feel any pressure coming from his side. So based on this story, based on this path I went through, what I would like to share with you are 5 takeaways or insight I learned on my way, which you might find useful, especially if you're just at the beginning of your career, and I can see that many of you are. So my first finding is select your first boss carefully. Because your first boss, that's the one who is going to teach you a lot. You're going to observe him intentionally or unintentionally. You're going to look at how he's deciding, how he's treating people, how he's dealing with the problems. So you will learn a lot from him. And I remember when I was joining my first company, I had 2 offers. One of them was for a great brand, famous Czech brand, and the other one was for a different company where I really liked the boss. So in this decision, I've chosen the boss, and I never regret it. Until today, when there is some hard decision, I don't know exactly how to decide. I think about my previous boss, what he would do, how he would behave. So that was advice number 1. Advice number 2, select the most senior team to work with that you can. If you're going to be surrounded by senior people, you're going to learn quickly because, again, you're going to watch them. You're going to see how they decide, how they think, how they behave. It's always better to be the least senior people in a great team than to be a star in an average one. My third advice is related to the paycheck. Always, at the beginning of your career, focus on learning and knowledge. Don't fall into the trap that you will have a nice position, nice money, nice image of the company, but you won't be learning. The learning curve at the beginning is what really matters. Focus on this. My fourth advice would be related to unexpected turns. Get ready for the situation that in your early 20s or 30s, there might be a specific situation. What if your employer asks you to move abroad, to work in a foreign branch? What if you get an idea for your own business, like I did? I never thought about it. It was not planned. It didn't make sense to some extent, but it was one of the best things which happened to me. What if you realize that you work in a field that doesn't perfectly fit you, despite you have been studying for it and despite you started to work in this field? Be open to the changes. These are the only moments when you can do it. Later on, when you will have family, you will have a mortgage, you won't be able to do it. Remember that the peak of your career is in your 40s and 50s. So make sure you prioritize everything in order to be in the best shape in these years. And my last advice is more emotional because it's connected to passion. Passion is such a strong emotion that it can take you very, very far, especially if it's combined with will. Passion and will, it's a very strong couple. It's a super powerful combo. Make sure whenever it appears, you listen to it. Like when I was starting my sports program, it was pure passion. It was something coming from inside. It didn't make sense from the rational point of view. So from time to time, try to disconnect your brain and just follow to your heart, because when it's going to talk to you, it might be one of the life-changing moments. Thank you. That's all from my side. That's the end of my story and my talk. Thank you.